All right, so today we're going to take a deep dive into some research about the future of programming.
Yeah, especially how AI is going to really change things.
Yeah, AI, of course.
But we're not just going to talk about the hype. We're going
Right.
to really look at how this is actually changing the game for programmers right now.
Yeah, and we've got these two papers.
Two papers.
One looks at how AI advice can actually influence people's decisions,
Right.
even like pushing them towards dishonesty, which I thought was kind of freaky.
Yeah, that was a fascinating study.
Yeah, and then the other one, it introduces this radical idea
Yeah.
called algorithmic resignation,
Yes.
which is basically about AI knowing its limits.
Yeah, kind of knowing when to step back.
Yeah.
Let the humans take over.
Okay, let's start with that first one because honestly, it kind of freaked me out a little bit.
Yeah.
They did this study where AI generated advice for a simple game,
Mm-hmm.
and people were just as likely to follow the AI's shady advice as they were humans,
Yeah.
even if it meant cheating.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yes. The thing is that people...
Oh, it's fascinating but scary.
It is, yeah. People tend to trust AI advice even when it's wrong
Yeah.
or biased.
Right.
It carries a lot of weight for some reason.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder.
It does.
Like, is it that we just instinctively trust these systems even when we kind of know better?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think there's something to that.
Yeah.
It's like we're programmed to believe that machines are always right.
Right, or more objective somehow.
Exactly.
Even though they're obviously created by humans with all their biases and flaws.
Exactly. So it's something to watch out for.
So imagine this.
Okay.
You're using an AI-powered coding tool,
Uh-huh.
and it suggests a shortcut
Right.
that technically works,
Yeah.
but feels ethically iffy.
I see what you're getting at.
Yeah. Would you be tempted to go for it?
That's a good question.
Because this study suggests you might,
Yeah.
even if you'd never consider taking that shortcut based on a human's advice.
It's possible, right?
Yeah. It's really is something we need to think about.
This is why I think it's so important
Absolutely.
for programmers
Okay.
to be aware of the potential for AI bias
Uh-huh.
and to really like develop a strong ethical framework
Yes.
for how they're going to evaluate AI-generated advice.
100%.
We can't just blindly trust these systems.
No.
We need to think critically
We do.
about their recommendations.
Yeah. And question them.
Yeah.
Not be afraid to say no.
Right, and push back a little.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's the scary part.
Like the potential downside.
Yeah. But then we have this other paper
Yeah.
that's all about algorithmic resignation,
Right.
which almost feels like an antidote to this problem.
Yeah. I can see that.
What exactly does that mean?
So algorithmic resignation is essentially about designing AI systems to recognize their own limitations
Okay.
and know when to hand off control to a human.
So it's like the AI is saying, hey,
Yeah.
this situation is too complex or ethically ambiguous
Uh-huh.
for me to handle. I'm tapping out, you got this human.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a great way to put it.
Like building in those safeguards.
Yeah.
So they don't just blindly churn out code.
Right.
Or make decisions that could have unintended consequences.
Yeah. Which can be pretty serious.
Right, especially as these systems become more powerful.
Exactly. This could be huge for programming.
This could be a game changer.
Absolutely.
Imagine an AI coding assistant
Yeah.
that recognizes a potential security flaw
Uh-huh.
in its code generation
Right.
and alerts the programmer for review.
That would be amazing.
Right.
So many problems could be prevented.
It could prevent all sorts of disasters down the line.
I think so.
Yeah.
And that's just one example. The
Right.
potential is huge.
Yeah. What are some other potential applications of this?
Well, think about AI-powered testing tools
Okay.
that recognize when a particular scenario
Uh-huh.
is outside their scope of expertise
Right.
and recommend human intervention.
You're like, I've seen this before. I don't know what to do here.
Exactly.
You take over.
Yeah.
Hand it off to the expert.
So instead of replacing human programmers,
Right.
this algorithmic resignation concept suggests a future of collaboration
Yes.
where AI and humans are working together
Working as a team.
to create more robust and ethical software.
That's the goal.
That's a really cool way of looking at it.
It is.
It's not man versus machine.
Yo.
It's man with machine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that collaboration could extend to the entire software development lifecycle,
Oh, wow.
from the initial design phase
Uh-huh.
to coding,
Yeah.
testing, debugging, deployment, you name it.
So AI can help us with a lot of those things.
It can definitely take some of the load off.
But humans are going to remain in the loop,
They need to.
especially when it comes to making critical decisions
Absolutely.
about the software we create.
Things like design functionality ethics.
So it's like we're moving toward this idea of human-in-the-loop programming,
Yeah, I like that.
where AI assists us with the heavy lifting.
But ultimately, humans retain control
Right.
and responsibility.
Which is crucial
Yeah.
because it's humans who understand the broader context,
Right.
the user needs,
Yeah.
the potential ethical implications.
AI can analyze data
It
and identify patterns.
can.
Yes,
Yeah.
very efficiently.
But it's humans who really understand those bigger picture things.
And the consequences
Oh,
of their decisions.
So this all raises a big question.
Okay, what's that?
What are the specific factors that would trigger this algorithmic resignation?
Right.
How does an AI system actually know when it's in over its head?
So according to the research, one key factor is system performance.
Okay.
When an AI encounters data that's outside its training set
Uh-huh.
or feels uncertain about its predictions,
Right.
it should be designed to resign.
So it's kind of like
Yeah.
a self-driving car,
Right?
recognizing that it's in unfamiliar territory
Uh-huh.
and handing control back to the human driver.
Exactly.
It's like, hey, I haven't seen this before, so I'm going to let the human take over just to be safe.
Yeah, makes sense.
All right.
Another factor is user expertise.
Yes, that's an important one.
So an AI system could actually be designed to adapt its level of assistance
Uh-huh.
based on the programmer's experience level.
That's the idea.
So, for example, it might offer more guidance to junior programmers
Yeah.
and less to those with more experience.
Right. Kind of like a personalized mentor,
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
providing support where it's needed most,
Right.
but also stepping back to allow more experienced programmers to work more independently.
So it's almost like a personalized mentor for programmers.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
It really captures the essence of what we're talking about.
And the third factor
Yes.
is the socio-technical and legal context.
That's right.
So basically, AI systems should be designed to comply
Yeah.
with the ethical and legal guidelines
Uh-huh.
that are specific to a particular industry or company.
Exactly. It needs to be context aware.
So, for example, an AI tool used for developing medical software
Yeah.
might have stricter ethical guidelines built in
Right.
than a tool used for building a simple game app.
Exactly, because the stakes are much higher in the medical field.
Right, if there's a mistake, it could have real-world consequences.
Exactly. People could get hurt.
Yeah.
So the AI needs to be extra careful.
So it's all about tailoring the AI's behavior
Right.
to the specific context that it's operating in.
100%.
And this is important.
It is.
This is a key takeaway.
For sure.
We can't just think of algorithmic resignation
Yeah.
as like a one-size-fits-all solution.
No, it needs to be tailored
Yeah,
to the specific needs and constraints.
of each application.
Absolutely.
This is really starting to paint a fascinating picture
I think so too.
of the future of programming.
It is a new era.
Yeah, it's not about AI replacing humans.
It's not about that at all.
It's about creating this collaborative partnership
Working together.
where each brings their unique strengths to the table.
That's the key.
And that's where things get really interesting,
Absolutely.
because this collaboration could fundamentally change the way we approach software development,
Very well.
from the initial design phase
Uh-huh.
all the way through to deployment and maintenance.
The whole process will be transformed.
It's pretty exciting stuff,
It is.
but it's also a little bit scary.
I understand that.
Yeah, because we don't really know what the future holds.
We don't, but that's part of what makes it so interesting.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's a brave new world out there.
Well said.
We'll see what happens.
All right, so we're going to take a quick break.
Sounds good.
And when we come back, we'll continue our deep dive
I'm looking forward to it.
into the future of programming with AI.
Me too. It's amazing to think about how this could change the whole software development life cycle.
Yeah,
You know, we're not just talking about writing code anymore.
right.
We're talking about building AI partners
Sorry.
that actually understand their own boundaries.
And that could have a huge impact. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
on everything.
Absolutely.
Project timelines
Huh.
to resource allocation.
Yeah. All of that.
I mean, if we can rely on AI to handle those more routine tasks,
Right.
that frees up human programmers to really focus on that more complex stuff.
Exactly. And that's where the real value is.
Yeah.
In the human creativity and problem solving.
It could lead to more efficient development cycles,
It could.
fewer bugs, and ultimately better software.
And faster turnaround times.
Right. But it also raises some interesting questions
It does.
about the skills programmers will need in the future.
Yeah. What does a programmer's job even look like in this world
Right?
of AI-powered tools and algorithmic resignation?
I mean, are they even going to be called programmers anymore?
Well, that's a good question.
Or is it going to be something totally different?
Yeah, maybe something like AI architects or something.
Yeah, AI orchestrators.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
It's more about understanding how to leverage AI effectively.
Right.
It's about being able to define the problem, set the right parameters for the AI,
Okay.
and then interpret and refine its output.
So it's almost like programmers become more like architects.
Yes.
Or
I
conductors,
love that analogy.
designing the overall system
Uh-huh.
and kind of guiding the AI's work.
Yeah, like a conductor leading an orchestra.
Instead of doing all the manual labor themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that highlights the importance of certain skills.
Like what?
Well, critical thinking, obviously. Problem solving and communication skills.
So those soft skills are becoming even more important.
They are absolutely essential.
Yeah.
Because those are the skills that AI can't replicate.
That's what's going to set human programmers apart.
Precisely.
Okay, so we've talked about the potential benefits.
Yeah, the upside.
But let's get real for a second.
Okay, sure.
Are there any downsides to all this AI integration?
Well, there are always potential downsides to any new technology.
Right.
I mean, some people are worried about AI taking over programming jobs altogether.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Ah.
It is. A lot of people are concerned about that.
And it's understandable.
Yeah.
But I think AI will augment human programmers,
Okay.
not replace them.
So you're not worried about the robot uprising?
Not yet, at least.
Okay, good.
But seriously, I think
Yeah.
it's more like having a superpowered assistant
Okay.
that can handle the grunt work,
Right.
allowing you to focus on the more creative and strategic aspects of programming.
So you're saying it's going to make our lives easier?
I think it has the potential to,
Okay.
if we use it wisely.
But couldn't it also create a new kind of digital divide?
That's a valid point.
What about programmers who don't have access to these advanced AI tools
Uh-huh.
or who aren't comfortable working with them?
That's something we need to be mindful of
All right.
as this technology evolves.
It's like any new technology.
Yeah.
It's going to create winners and losers.
To some extent, yes.
Yeah, and we need to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to benefit
Absolutely.
of these advancements.
Access to AI-powered tools.
Right.
And education on how to use them effectively.
Will be crucial
That's essential.
for creating a more equitable and inclusive tech industry.
I couldn't agree more.
Okay, so accessibility is one potential challenge.
Right.
But let's go back to algorithmic resignation for a second.
Okay, sure.
You mentioned that system performance
Yeah.
is one factor that triggers it.
Uh-huh.
Could you give me a specific example of what that might look like in a real-world programming scenario?
Sure. Imagine you're working on a project that involves image recognition.
Okay.
Let's say building an app that can identify different types of plants.
All right, I'm following.
You're using an AI-powered tool to train the model on a data set of plant images.
Okay, makes sense.
But then someone tries to use the app to identify a completely new species of plant
Uh-oh.
that wasn't included in the original training data.
So the AI encounters something it's never seen before,
Exactly.
and it's like, wait a minute, I don't know what this is.
That's right.
And it throws up its little digital hands.
And says, I need help. In that scenario, a well-designed AI system
Yeah.
would recognize that it's operating outside its area of expertise
Right.
and resign handing control back to the human programmer
Okay.
to either update the model with new data or make a judgment call
Makes sense.
based on their own knowledge.
It's like having a safety net built into the system
His is a safety net.
to prevent the AI from making potentially inaccurate or even dangerous decisions.
Exactly. That's the whole point.
And this same principle could apply to all sorts of programming scenarios.
Oh, absolutely.
Like debugging.
Yeah. An AI tool designed for debugging code might recognize a particularly complex error
Uh-huh.
that it can't resolve on its own and recommend human intervention.
So it's not about the AI being perfect.
No, it's not about perfection.
It's about it being smart enough to know when it needs help.
That's the key.
Yeah.
And that's where the real power of human-AI collaboration lies.
Right, but combining the strengths of both.
We can create software that is more robust, reliable, and ultimately more beneficial to society.
This whole conversation has really shifted my perspective.
In what way?
I mean, it's not about this dystopian vision of AI taking over.
No, I don't think so.
It's about finding ways to work together to achieve things that neither could do alone.
That's the beauty of it, is
Yeah.
a partnership.
And it's this spirit of collaboration
I agree.
that I think will ultimately define the next generation of programmers.
I think you're right.
This has been incredibly insightful.
It's been a great conversation.
We've explored the potential for AI to influence decisions,
Yeah.
the idea of algorithmic resignation,
Yeah.
the impact on the software development lifecycle, and even the evolving role of the programmer.
A lot to think about.
But there's still so much more to unpack.
Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about how AI is changing things for experienced programmers.
Yeah.
But what about someone who's just starting out?
Right, like a newbie.
Yeah. What advice would you give to someone just starting out in programming today, knowing that AI is going to play such a big role?
I'd say don't be intimidated by it. Yeah.
Embrace it.
Okay.
Because AI tools can actually be incredibly helpful for learning.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they can really accelerate the learning curve.
Because instead of seeing AI as a threat,
Right.
think of it as a learning partner.
Exactly.
Almost like having a super smart tutor by your side.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And this is where I think education is key.
Okay.
We need to be teaching aspiring programmers not just how to code,
Right.
but also how to work effectively with AI tools, how to understand their limitations, and how to apply them ethically.
So it's almost like we need a whole new curriculum for programming.
I think that's inevitable.
Yeah.
And it's exciting because it opens up so many possibilities
He does.
for what we can achieve with software.
Yeah.
Imagine a world where anyone, regardless of their technical background,
Wow.
can leverage AI to bring their ideas to life.
That's pretty inspiring vision.
It is.
But let's not forget about the potential pitfall.
Right. There are always two sides to every coin. We talked earlier about that study where people were so easily swayed by AI advice.
Yeah, even if it was wrong.
Yeah. How do we prevent that from happening in the real world?
That's the million-dollar question.
Especially as AI becomes more sophisticated.
And persuasive.
Yeah.
I don't think there's an easy answer.
Yeah.
But I think it starts with awareness.
Okay.
Programmers need to be educated about the potential for AI bias and to develop a critical mindset when evaluating AI-generated advice.
So don't just blindly accept whatever the AI spits out.
Exactly.
You got to think about it.
Question it.
Yeah, take the time to understand the reasoning behind it.
Yes.
Consider the potential consequences.
Absolutely.
And don't be afraid to question the AI's recommendations.
Push back a little.
Yeah.
It's healthy.
It's about developing that healthy skepticism
Yeah.
and recognizing that AI, like any tool,
It's a tool.
can be used for good or for ill.
That's right.
Ultimately, it's up to us
The humans.
to ensure that it's used responsibly.
And ethically.
This whole concept of algorithmic resignation is fascinating.
It is.
But I'm wondering how it actually gets implemented in practice.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Is this something that programmers need to code into their AI tools?
Well,
Or are there like platforms and frameworks emerging?
yeah. Are there tools to help us with this?
Yeah, that make it easier.
It's a bit of both right now.
Yeah.
It's still early days.
Yeah.
A lot of the work around algorithmic resignation is happening at the research level, but we're starting to see some practical applications emerging,
Oh, cool. Like where?
especially in areas like cybersecurity
Oh, wow.
and autonomous systems.
That makes sense.
Those are areas where the stakes are high,
Right.
so algorithmic resignation is particularly important.
So are there specific programming languages or tools
Good question.
that are better suited for building AI systems with these capabilities?
Yeah.
Or is it more about the design principles?
It's more about the design principles
Okay.
and the way the AI is trained.
So it's not about the specific language you're using.
Not really.
It's about how you're thinking about the problem
Exactly.
and how you're designing the system.
And the data you use to train it.
So it's not just about the technical skills.
Right.
It's about having this awareness of AI's limitations
Yeah, mindful.
and designing systems that are robust, reliable, and ethically sound.
That's the goal.
This conversation has been so eye-opening.
I'm glad to hear that.
It's not just about the technology.
It's about the impact.
It's about the impact it's having on society
Yeah.
and the responsibility we have
As creators,
to use it for good.
for the benefit of humanity.
Well said.
Thank you.
We've covered so much ground today,
We have.
from the ways AI can influence human decisions
Uh-huh.
to this groundbreaking concept of algorithmic resignation
And everything in between.
and its potential to transform the software development lifecycle.
It's a whole new world out there.
But as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
I keep coming back to one key takeaway.
What's it?
AI isn't just changing the way we write code.
It's changing the way we think.
It's changing the way we think about programming itself.
I think that's a great way to put it.
It's a whole new era,
It is.
and we're just at the beginning.
The possibilities are endless.
Well, it's been a pleasure diving up with you today.
Likewise.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.